What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank y'all very much for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Coming up this weekend in Arlington for Round 7 of AMA Supercross and the Super Motocross World Championship, we got the 250 East Region Series firing up. And not only will we get a new series full of riders that we've yet to see race in 2026, which is always fun, but I'll also be in attendance to see the series kick off. So excited to get to see something new after all the Deegan domination in the West Coast, as the East Coast will have tons of guys to contend like Cole Davies, Nate Thrasher, Pierce Brown, Seth Hammaker, Drew Adams, Dax Bennick, Casey Cochran, Jalik Swoll, but maybe not his teammate Austin Faulkner, Cody Schock, Devin Simonson, Cullen Park, international flavors, a crazy amount of privateers, and we just got confirmation today that Joe Sushi Wasabi Shimoda is back from the neck injury, and he'll be in for the full series starting at the opener. So for today's video, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to do an overview national of each of the teams and which riders will be racing for them on the East Coast. Then we'll run through the schedule, a few categories of who and what to watch for, and then last but not least, as always, the most fun part of the video, which will be my predictions for the 250 East SX Championship. But before we get into all that stuff, you guys know the deal, you know the lineup. We got to give a huge thank you and a shout out to our channel sponsors, because they're the ones who help make this happen, keep us going, and get me traveling to all these races that I go to. So please, guys, do me a favor and go check them out. Huge thank you to ASV Inventions, home of the Unbreakable Lever, Serious Studio, who can take care of all your merch needs, and the DesignLabCo.com. They got some great designs in their lab at their co, and if you need graphics, look no further than there. I have links and discount codes in my video description, and if you guys buy from them, a small portion of the sale goes to me to help keep us going. So if you're supporting them, you are literally supporting me. And also, I'm doing the TV announcing for the GT Arena Cross series on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2 with Daniel Blair. Here's the airing schedule. Would really appreciate it if you guys would tune in. Not only will entertainment be guaranteed in your contract, but it'll also help me keep my job. But thank you guys again for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Alright, to start off today's video, we'll do a little overview of each of the teams, and I mean like the main teams. I'm sure there's some teams that I may have missed on here, some lower level startup teams, but all the main factory supported teams and all the top privateer teams. We'll go ahead and run through all those and just go over who's going to be racing the East Coast for all these teams. So we're going to start with the team that has 69 riders, Star Yamaha, and their East Coast lineup is going to include the sensation from last year, Cole Davies, Pierce Brown, and Nate Thrasher. And with those three riders, that's already almost more than any other team on the East Coast, but they also have several amateur riders just waiting in the wings. If you've been watching SMX Next, you've seen Landon Gordon, Caden Dudney, Caden Manier, and they've even been holding Carson Wood back. They've got a fourth one. So of those first three, Gordon, Dudney, and Manier, I'd kind of heard some rumblings that maybe the top performer out of those three in the SMX Next class, they would get the spot for East Coast, but I've still yet to hear anything, so maybe we'll see one of those guys there, maybe we won't, but if we did see any of them, I would probably bet on it being one of the Cadens, likely Dudney or maybe Manier, but stay tuned to all that. Then we'll switch gears and talk about the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki squad, and I feel like both coasts this year in the 250 class, it's kind of seemed like a Pro Circuit Kawi versus Star Yamaha juggernaut scrap with a couple of oddballs thrown in there, but for East Coast, PC Kawasaki has Seth Hammaker, the near champion from last year, and then they have Drew Adams. I thought he was Rookie of the Year last year, but I guess he's actually eligible for that award this year, so stay tuned to him fighting with Casey Cochran for that, but that's the Pro Circuit Kawasaki squad. Then for Factory HRC Honda, I thought they were going to be vacant. I didn't think they were going to have a rider for the East Coast, but it just got announced that Joe Sushi Wasabi Shimoda, he's back, baby. He's racing the East Coast. He went out in the early winter with a broken neck, super scary injury, but you know, he had feeling and everything like that, so you knew it was going to buff out eventually, but it seemed to have buffed out way quicker than expected. I feel like the word was pretty much that we were all just going to have to wait and see him during outdoors, but it seems like everything's progressed way quicker than anticipated, and Joe is not only going to do the full series, but he's even going to be there for the opener. Honestly, very shocking to me. I don't really know what to expect out of him. We'll talk a little bit more about him when we get to our predictions, but I don't think they would even bother with putting him out there if they didn't think he had a chance to do really well or win. So yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how Joe Shimoda shakes down on race day. Then we got the Triumph Factory Racing team. They're going to come into this thing with only one rider this year. They got Jalik Swoll, and he missed Supercross last year, but he was really solid the year before on the Triumph in its debut season. He was supposed to have Austin Faulkner alongside him, but we've had some people reporting, I think I saw it from Steve Mathis, that Faulkner will actually be staying on the 450. I'm a little bit bummed to see that. I feel like Faulkner's a really good 250 guy, and he could be a title guy, but at the same time, he also got hurt a couple of rounds ago, so maybe he'd be coming in under the gun. They just don't want to give him that championship pressure for no reason, so no Faulkner on the East Coast. Then we got Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. They got Daxton Bennick and Casey Cochran, a very young lineup, a lineup with tons of potential, but also a lineup that just hasn't quite been able to put the pieces of the puzzle together all at the same time. But watch out for the Husky boys. We could see some fire and ice at the National, and definitely some flashes of brilliance out of these young guns. Then we got the first of our non-factory supported teams that's pretty much a factory team without being a factory team, but it's the Club MX Yamaha squad. squad. They've got Cody with a T-Shock and Devin with a D Simonson, Revin Devin. All reports are these guys are flying at the test track, and I'm actually going to go see it for myself tomorrow, so stay tuned for all that. Then we got Phoenix Honda, another pretty young lineup as they got Cullen Park as their main guy. He was good in World Supercross. He got a podium for the team last year. He'll be leading the way for him over Gavin Towers, who also showed a lot of potential in Supercross last year. And then Evan Ferry, who's been trying his hand at some arena crash over the winter. Man, he's had a tough run of injuries, but I think he's at full health right now. He's got tons of potential, and he's in there for Phoenix Honda on the East Coast. Then there's PRMX Kawasaki, and they've got a bit of an international hired gun for the East Coast because they've drafted in Luke Clout, the Australian Ripper. He should be a factor in at least the top 10. He's got tons of talent, and then the team also has my guy Hamden Hudson and Liam Alof, but Alof is currently out with injury. I don't know when he's going to be back, but he was also riding really well in the Arena Cross Series this winter. Then there's a new team for 2026, the MX6 Kawasaki team, and they've got Marshall Welton, Henry Miller, Derek Kelly, and Alex Federstov. And this team is throwing cash money at the sport. You love to see it. They got 4 riders. They hired Ollie Stonaway from Pro Circuit Kawasaki. They are not playing around. Then there's Gizmo Mods Yamaha, and they've got the Swiss Ripper, Valentin Guillot, and Bryce Shelley. And Shelley's been around for a few years. He's like a main event bubble guy, but then we got Valentin Guillot. He's got a massive MXGP outdoor pedigree, but he's never done Supercross. I saw him ride it a little bit at Club MX last year, and I actually thought he was very impressive, so we could see some surprises out of Guillot. Then there's the Dirt Bike Depot KTM team as their main rider, Gage Linville. Unfortunately, is going to be out for the start of the series as he just suffered an injury, I believe, last week. So he's out, but then they got Jace Kessler, Marcus Phelps, and Jackson Driscoll. Wildcat Racing Gas is pretty much Team Lorenzo Lucurcio, but unfortunately, our dude is out. I believe he just got hurt last week, so I don't know if that team's even going to be competing or not. I had heard of a rider that they reached out to try to get a fill-in, but I don't know if he's down with it, so not looking good for the Wildcat squad. And then like I said at the beginning, my apologies if I missed a team or a group of you guys. I mean, I'm only one guy, just doing my best out here. And if I missed you, I'm sorry. But then, as always, we have tons of privateers. The East Coast is a privateer haven compared to the West Coast. And once again, I'm going to miss so many of them. I guarantee it to be in my contract, but I'm just going to throw out some of the names that I know off the top of my head that should be in the East Coast. But we'll have past Arena Crash champion Luke Neese, Hardy Munoz, Jack Rogers, Triumph of Harrisonburg's Luca Marsalisi, Jeremy Hand, maybe Isaiah Clark, maybe Michael Hicks. I'm not really sure about those two, but they were ripping the GT Arena Cross Series this winter. Then we'll have Vinny Luhovi, Brighton Carroll. I'm sure we'll have Corey Karsten just kicking it on the Suzuki, and then a few more question marks. I'm not sure about Nick Romano. I've seen him riding a 450 at his track in Florida, but no idea what his plans about racing are. And then we got Ryder Floyd, another question mark because his team kind of crumbled underneath him. And then Lance Kobush, he's been doing a lot of riding on the Stark Varg, and that's not exactly legal in Supercross, so I don't know what he's going to be doing, but it would be really cool to have all those guys with the question marks racing. I mean, the more riders, the merrier. But that's our rider lineup. One more time, if I missed you, I'm sorry. In my preview video for Arlington that I'm going to do in a couple of days, hopefully they'll have the entry list up and I'll give all you guys your shine and whatnot. But now we'll get into the schedule for the 2026 250 East Region Series. It's kind of a wild schedule for these East Coast guys compared to the West Coast guys, but it all fires up at Arlington this weekend. I'll be there for the opener, and then round 2 is in Daytona. I should be there as well. But then for round 3, they're to Indianapolis for a Triple Crown, then Birmingham for a showdown, one more regular East round in Detroit, and then another showdown in St. Louis where the East and West riders go to battle again. Then we got one more regular East race in Nashville, another Triple Crown in Cleveland, a rare regular East race in Philadelphia, and then a week off, and then one more showdown, the third of 3 showdowns at the finale in Salt Lake City for the 10th round. One more round than last year. I think last year it was 10 rounds on the East and 9 on the West. It was a little bit off balance, but now this year they added an extra showdown, so now both coasts have an even number of rounds, and we get more showdowns, which, I mean, the East and West go into battle. I love it. Sign me up for it. And then last but not least, right before we get into my predictions for the series, we're just going to go over a few groups of riders of some things I'm looking for and just kind of put some riders into some groups of what I'm kind of expecting. But first of all, a couple of riders that I think could really break out this season are Daxton Bennick and Drew Adams. We've already seen the potential from Bennick. He's podiumed the East Opener the last 2 years, a second place last year. But the problem with Dax has been staying healthy and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together consistently weekend by weekend. So he's got all the pieces, just hasn't quite put them together. And I feel like this is the year where we could really see him tie everything together and really put in some good results. And then there's Drew Adams. I mean, he only got a handful of rounds in last year as a rookie, and he wasn't even really supposed to be racing. I mean, he kind of just got thrown in there whenever there was an injury or Kitchen getting sick, actually. So not a ton of experience, but I just have a good feeling that Drew Adams could show us something special this year. He's a great rider, tons of talent, and I'm looking for big things out of him. Then we got some guys where the pressure is on, and the first guy on this list is Pierce Brown. And just like I talked about with Dax Bennick, tons of potential. He's shown it multiple times, but just has had a really hard time putting it all together. This is the second year on the star deal, and last year, I mean, he went out while he was leading the opener, so he definitely showed some potential. But potential only gets you so far if you can't ever really put it together, and that's not to say that Pierce can't do it, but if he doesn't do it again this year, that's going to be a rough deal with trying to find another ride and just proving to himself that he can do it. Next up on this list is Rockstar Energy Husqvarna's Casey Cochran. And this kid is such a good rider. I also have so much belief in Casey Cochran, but at the same time, with how much potential he has, I feel like he hasn't quite been able to put it together for many results. I think he does have an outdoor podium, but other than that, I feel like it's been a little bit more down than up for the poor dude as he's had some injuries. And he's just had a tough time stringing a couple of healthy seasons in a row together and just getting a good base under him. But as good as he is, I feel like you can only survive but so many years getting the factory rides without showing those flashes of brilliance. So I'm really feeling like the pressure's on for Casey. And last guy, this guy's actually going to make two of my lists, but I think the pressure is on for Devin Simonson in a big way. He got the Club MX Yamaha deal last year, and that was his chance to prove himself, but he got hurt. Only got to do a couple of rounds, so the team owner, Brandon Haas, said he's earned another shot to prove himself again. So this is a big season for him. The Club MX Yamaha team already has 4 riders signed, sealed, and delivered for next year. So if Simonson wants to continue to be a part of that squad, then he has really got to prove himself this year. And then onto my list of surprises. I'm going to continue talking about Devin Simonson because I think he's going to put it together, and I think he's going to do what he needs to do. Everything I've heard is the dude has been flying at the test track. He's got tons of talent. He's always had it. I go way back with this kid, and I think this is going to be a good year for him. So stay tuned to Devin Simonson. And then another surprise, I think is going to go to Valentin Guillot. I don't think people are expecting too much out of the dude. I mean, he's an MXGP guy, an outdoor guy. You don't really think much of Supercross when you think of Valentin Guillot, but he's got the skill. I've seen him ride Supercross. He's got it in the wheelhouse, and I think we're going to see some surprising results out of Valentin Guillot. But now, last but not least, I'll finally get on with it. My predictions for the 250 East Championship. I'm just going to do the top 3 in this one, keep it short and sweet, but for the championship, you guys probably could have called this one. I'm going to go with Seth Hammaker. That might almost be me voting with my heart more than my brain, but I think it's actually a combo of brain and heart because Seth almost got it done last year. He pretty much got it brutally taken away from him at the finale, so I just feel like this is the year for redemption. He's working with the Lawrences at their compound now, and that really showed in his game last year as he made tons of huge improvements, and I can only assume he's going to do the same this year. So I got Seth Hammaker as my champion. I've got Cole Davies in the 2 spot, and really the only difference between he and Hammaker, in my opinion, is going to be maybe some consistency. We all saw what Davies did last year. I mean, he was friggin' incredible. There's a good chance he's going to be the fastest guy on track most of the time. I feel like he's got the most talent and the most Supercross skill out of all these guys, but he's still young. We saw some rookie mistakes, and even though he's up into the sophomore season now, I just think we still might see a few of those that might cost him the championship, but part of that might also just be me really hoping that Hammaker gets it done, but I've got it being a good battle between Hammaker and Cole Davies. Then for the 3 spot, I've got Nate Thrasher. I feel like those two at the front would be 1A and 1B, and then Nate Thrasher would be kind of a 2. We've seen him win races, we've seen him be a championship contender, but the only thing with Thrasher is you just never know. I mean, he could get 1st or 21st on any given weekend, and you kind of just, expect it. So I feel like inconsistency can maybe hurt him, but I've got Nate Thrasher as my 3rd spot in the championship. But admittedly, I made all these picks before the Joe Shimoda announcement and before we found out that he was going to be racing the entire East Coast Series. So I'm kind of going to go back on my word a little bit. I think Hammaker and Davies are 1A and 1B, and then I think Thrasher and Shimoda are 2A and 2B. If Joe was coming into this thing healthy, then he might be my championship favorite, but I think he might have just got back on the bike like this week or something, so the prep is definitely going to be at an all-time low, but at the same time, Joe's just such an amazing rider. So much bike skill, so technical. So if anybody could come into this thing with almost no prep and still be a contender, I think it would be Joe Shimoda, but I just think this lack of prep is maybe going to be the difference between he being a title contender and not being one. And with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys for today's video for the 250 East preview. As always, please let me know what you guys thought about the video, what you think about my takes, if you agree, if you disagree, if my video sucks, if I'm just a cooked unit idiot, or anything like that. You guys feel free to shoot it all my way. We're here for it. But like I said, thank you guys very much again for tuning in. Really appreciate you. And stay tuned for some content from the East Opener because we'll be in the cut. Catch you guys next time. No choice.